Hey everybody, welcome to Friday. Hope you've had a great week and are looking forward to an awesome low friction weekend. Alright, today should actually be proper quick. All I'm going to be doing today is just covering where we're at on testing for the Finish Line Halo line of products. So during the week I have finished retesting the immersive wax just through the initial block 1 of the main test, and I have also tested through block 1 for the wax drip version. And we just have some, still sort of rather, I'm going to say, beyond remarkable results at the moment. And, what do we make of this and where to from here? Because it really is a whole thing. And I'm a little bit lost for words, and I'm going to have to try to figure out words as I do this YouTube video. All right, super quick recap in case you missed the last couple of weeks' videos. Basically, Finish Line have introduced a new product lineup under the Halo product banner, which include an immersive wax, a wax emulsion drip, and also a wet lubricant. Now, I was very excited, I guess, especially about the immersive wax and the proper wax emulsion drip lubricant, as really over the years of testing, we've seen that those two products dominate with regards to their test results on the league table. Because at the end of the day, the top waxes simply have the greatest contamination resistance, and so therefore across any decent amount of writing and testing, they come in with the lowest wear because of that contamination resistance. The chain being completely exposed to any and all contamination and working super hard, contamination is the killer. It doesn't matter how good a lubricant is in a clean lab test. When it is exposed to the environment, which is quite unique. There are not many machine parts or parts that are working extremely hard and under high pressure and obviously need lubrication that are not doing so in a sealed type environment, like your bearings, like engines, and most machine parts. They are sealed because if they are exposed to contamination, things go badly very quickly. So that's always the challenge for the bicycle chain, and therefore the top performers in real world situations, real world cycling, are the lubricants that resist becoming contaminated, and that is why waxes are dominating, be that immersive wax or the top wax drip lubricants. Now, if I've held a concern about Finish Line products in the past, it has been that they are possibly living off their legacy brand name, and that potentially their products out on the market have not seen any real R&D and updates for it could potentially be the last 2 to 3 decades. Now, I do not know that that's the case. It could be that they've piled a whole lot of R&D into their existing product lineup over the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, even 30 years to keep them relevant and competitive. But my concern is that that hasn't been the case. They haven't tested, that competitive. And it can be something if you have a strong brand name in the industry because you were one of the first to step into this space and you've got a huge presence in the global marketplace, complacency can be a thing. And if that has occurred, and again, I don't know that that's the case at all, it's just been a concern, it is unlikely that products that are potentially 20 to 30 years old are going to be competitive with the latest and greatest products released over the last, say 1 to 5 years. That's not really happening in a lot of product categories globally. Now, obviously, if my concerns about those legacy products are incorrect, I would love for Finish Line to send me some information to show that I am incorrect, and then I can update that my concerns were unfounded. And obviously, if any of their consumers around the world had concerns that what they were using were potentially 20 to 30 years old without any meaningful testing and updates, they would be, I guess, happy to see and hear that as well. So please, if Finish Line, if you can reopen dialogue, send that through. But that's just been the general concern. They haven't tested super competitive in the ZFC test either, so it's kind of backed that concern up to a degree. And hence my excitement when I saw that they were stepping out with some modern products with the wax emulsion drip and immersive wax. But I guess countering a little bit of that excitement was some of the marketing claims. In particular, the one around their spherical tungsten spheres with hollow cores that are extremely small, and yeah, we've gone into, I guess, a fair bit of detail in the last 2 weeks' vids as to why we are so concerned about this. But the short version is that if you are to put very small, so micron size particles that are strong enough to remain spherical and hollow under the very high pressure loads involved inside your chain, that these would be extremely abrasive. I had a call with Finish Line, which they were great to talk to, but despite a lot of chatting, I couldn't get to understand how this marketing claim actually worked. And I remained very concerned that these particles, if they were in there, would in fact be quite abrasive. And then we had the initial testing, which so we'll duck to some test results now. But the concern where we're at this time is that they may actually have these particles inside the product. All right, and so yeah, I just want to be, I guess, really super clear on the point that, because it's quite momentous really for ZFC testing history, that for the first time I am concerned that what a manufacturer is claiming they've put in the product might actually be in the product. Almost always the concern is that a manufacturer is claiming some really fancy performance results due to XYZ additives, and we're looking to see how well that actually matches reality when we test it, and if where results are quite average to poor, have they really put in all this fancy stuff and in their own testing been able to assess that adding this fancy stuff in has enabled a great performance result. So yeah, usually the testing concern is, will the claims match reality when we put it through its paces? It has really never been the concern that what a manufacturer is claiming that they have added to the product might actually be in there, because when you look at what they're saying that they've added and you look at how that's supposed to work, and you sort of follow the dotted lines of basic logic and physics and go, they simply cannot put that stuff in, because I couldn't think of anything more abrasive to put in. This is rather new territory. Now, obviously, Finish Line will rather vehemently disagree that what they've added could possibly be abrasive, and obviously that would have and should have shown up in their own testing, and that they claim that what they've added provides a rolling effect, which from ZFC perspective it cannot at that scale and pressure at all. But that's their claim, that that these particles provide a rolling effect, so they remain spherical and hollow and provide a rolling effect on the surfaces of the chain. And at the same time, they're also filling in the asperities of the metal, which is basically like the little tiny nooks and crannies and fissures in the chain surface metal. So they're filling in those fissures as well as providing a rolling effect. The hollow cores are also reducing chain vibration from high torque pedaling. And they're also exfoliating layers and leaving layers of themselves behind to fill in the asperities of the metal, again, whilst providing a rolling effect. And you may be getting the picture as to why, despite discussing this particular point for probably about at least 45 minutes just on these hollow tungsten spheres, that at the end of that I still could get zero understanding as to how that all worked. And I had zero belief that if they actually have these hollow spheres in there that are hard enough to remain or retain spherical and hollow at micron size, that they wouldn't simply be extremely abrasive. So that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at the end of the chat with Finish Line. But just to be clear, that obviously Finish Line will, their stance is very much going to be that obviously they would not be adding very abrasive particles to their lubricant, and that these hollow spheres are doing all these wonderful things. And this is going to be an awesome competitive product out there on the market. So that's the two stances in a nutshell. And yeah, let's have a look at where we're at with the testing. Okay, so you're following on from last week's video. You may recall that the Finish Line Halo immersive wax, so right down there at the bottom, 99.7% wear rate result. Now basically 0.5% chain wear, which is your recommended chain allowance. So that's the time when you should replace your chain, because that is classed as 100% worn. That is the 100% wear mark. So at 99.7%, that has basically worn the chain to 0.5% wear or its replacement mark within that 1,000 kilometers of clean block testing, during which there is the initial immersive wax, and then there are 2 immersive re-waxes throughout that 1,000 kilometer test block. So yeah, to wear a chain to its wear rate allowance, and these are the test chains are Ultegra 11 speed, in 1,000 kilometers of no contamination running on basically an ergo. It was something that has never remotely been seen before. The chains were still feeling and sounding smooth on the machine, so it's not like the treatment was giving out. So yeah, I went into deeper detail last week on that, but the quick update for the immersive wax this week is that the retest came out. So I used obviously new chain and moved it to a different machine, and that came out at 102.3%. I'll keep the 99.7% as the result on the sheet, so I'll keep the lower of the 2 tests, but basically that's well within test variance, so that is a match. So yeah, there was no sort of out of the blue improvement, and me needing to go and have a look at what's going on with the first test machine. Yeah, so we've now 2 tests for the immersive wax, 2 different chains, 2 different machines, almost the same result, and that result is that the chain has been worn to its wear replacement mark in 1,000 kilometers, which is, I mean, it's bonkers for any product. You may note that it's higher than the test I did with 0 lubrication. So that does, I guess, hint to the fact that what is in the product, or that somehow this wax may potentially be abrasive. And things get even more interesting, I guess, when we look at the Halo Wax drip lubricant. Scroll down. 203.4%. So I actually checked this measure with 5 different chain checkers and digital calipers, and one of the chain checkers was the magnificent new Abbey Tools production version of their LL chainwear tool, which showed it as basically dead on 1% wear. Now 1% chain wear is basically the 200% of the chain wear allowance, because we have exceeded our 0.5% recommended wear allowance by double. So we have worn a chain to 1% chain wear within 1,000 kilometers of clean cycling, basically on an ergo. So same thing, it's obviously chain is stripped, the wax strip is applied as per the instructions. This was a double coating applied, so the initial application was a drop per roller, top span of chain, bottom span of chain. It is worked in, it was allowed to set, and then I repeated that, and it was allowed to set again overnight. So it had 2 applications, 2 overnight sets, and then test started. After the first application, it was applied 1 drop per roller on the top span of chain to work in and allow an overnight set. So, I mean, yeah, this is where, as I said at the start, I have to sort of try to figure out what words to say during my YouTube video. I don't even know where to begin, or what to say. To wear a chain to 1% wear rate mark in just the clean block one, I literally, it was so unbelievable that was why I checked that measure with 5 checkers and calipers. And if we compare that to, I guess, where the top immersive waxes and wax drips are, we're looking at 0% for the top immersive waxes, and we have, even for the top wax drip lubricants, around the 5% or under wear rate marks versus 200%. So observations again were the chain feels and sounds smooth to the touch, so the lubricant treatment lifespan was in no way giving out. It is just as abrasive as, I really am stuck on what to say. And sorry, just in case you're looking at the average of all lubes number down the bottom, that was incorrect. Sorry, I had a little working number in there from something else before, so I've just re-corrected that back to average of all lubes, and that is the correct number at the moment after all the tests, including the now blowing that number out a bit with the finish line Halo results. So it's a ways off. All right, so yeah, what do we do with that, and where to from here? So a couple of things. I mean, obviously, the first concern is that we have a correlation between my fears that what they may have actually put in the product as per their own marketing claims, may actually be present in the product, and it may actually be as feared that these particles would be extremely abrasive. Because we have now a total of 3 tests for these products, which are the highest wear tests on record in 8 years of doing this, and overall really by quite a margin, and higher than the test with 0 lubricant. So it should be impossible for any lubrication or any lubricant to wear a chain at a greater rate than a test with no lubricant. And I guess especially when the chains are just from a feel and visual observation and oral observation sounding smooth, so there is actually their lubricant not giving out, but it's still in there doing whatever it's doing. The only conclusion I have at the moment is that the actual lubricant itself is obviously very abrasive to attain that rate of chain wear. But that obviously, this whole situation leads us to just so many confusing questions that we don't yet have answers to. Right, so question number 1 to finish line. Does the Halo product lineup, in fact, for real, contain micron size hollow tungsten spheres that are hard enough and therefore strong enough to remain hollow and spherical under the extremely high pressure loads inside the chain? And if so, A, how do they provide a rolling effect at that scale and pressure? And B, what are those pressure loads, and how do they not exceed the strength of the chain metal, that they simply would not carve into that chain metal and obviously be abrasive? So question number 2, just following on, so how do they remain hollow and spherical and provide a rolling effect whilst also exfoliating layers? Part 2A to that really would be, how many layers do they have to give? Because they obviously are very small. Doesn't mean, that they can't have a whole ship ton of layers, but I'd like to know how many layers they can exfoliate before these spheres are gone. Because, for all we know, this could be in 100 layers in a very, very short time of cycling, and we don't have hollow spheres anymore, or this could continue on for 10,000 cycles, and it goes quite some time into each treatment application. But at what point, do we expect these hollow tungsten spheres to have given up all the layers that they have to give, and we do not have a hollow sphere anymore? And that really leads into question 2B, as to, if we need these proprietary hollow core spheres to reduce vibration in the chain caused by high torque pedaling. When these spheres have given up all the layers that they have to give and are no longer there, then, when does this particular claim subsequently give out? Question 3 is obviously, what are their thoughts around my testing results? So again, the zero friction cycling test, especially block 1, it's a pretty simple test. It is just running a bicycle chain on a bicycle drivetrain. It's 250 watt load from a Tax Neo, driven by a motor. So the lubricant is just supposed to be obviously lubricating a chain in its actual use case on a bicycle drivetrain. So if the lubricant is not containing abrasive particles, what thoughts do they have with regards to the test results, where for the immersive wax we have used up the chain's entire wear allowance within 1,000 kilometers, a result never before seen. And with the wax drip version, we have used double the chain's recommended wear allowance within the 1,000 kilometers, which is, I am still at a loss for words, and I don't even really know how to categorize that result at the moment. Question number 4 is, really, can they provide their own, testing data to back the addition of these, tungsten spheres? Because obviously, in their own R&D, there has been a thought train somebody has, or some could be obviously a collective of people in the tech and R&D department, have come up with the thought that if you add very tiny hollow spheres of tungsten into the lubricant, that it is going to do this wonderful stuff, such as provide a rolling effect, which the mental map that provides to us all obviously is that it's acting like miniature ball bearings inside the chain lubricant, and that this is going to be very beneficial to the performance of the lubricant, and yeah, do a whole bunch of wondrous stuff. And then from there, obviously exfoliating and reducing vibration and so on. So there's been a, I guess their own logic and thought path behind why they have gone to the trouble of creating micron size hollow tungsten spheres. And then obviously they would have needed to test that logic and theory in their product. So you would, stereotypically, when a manufacturer is going down a lubricant development path, they normally do a bunch of testing to establish what they believe is a great base for the product, and then they start playing with the friction modifier additives. What additive, what quality, scale, particle size, how much, do they need to add 10 grams, 1 gram, 0.5 grams, 5 grams? All of this has to be tested, because you don't want to be adding a whole ship ton of friction modifier in, whichever type they're running with. If, why put 50 grams in if 1 gram is actually going to basically test out the same? Because at the end of the day, that's cost and waste. So typically a whole lot of testing is done around this stuff, by the genuine manufacturers arriving at an actual tested and verified high-performing product and formula. Some who don't do that are obviously just throwing in whatever and at whatever ratio and hoping. But in Finish Line's cases, being their size and experience and I guess resources, one would expect that the thought train to testing has yielded actual results. So they have got their base, they've settled on a base, they have added their micron-sized tungsten spheres, and then seen that the testing outcome of that versus the base has been excellent, and that this is something that they should be running to production with. Obviously there would have needed to be a whole bunch of testing again around what ratio they need to include with regards to these hollow tungsten spheres. Is it like, do they need to add 0.5 gram, 5 grams, 1 gram, 10 gram, all that stuff? So they should have a veritable shipload of testing proving that this additive is awesome. I haven't even bothered to cover, because of all the hoo-ha and fun we're having just on this part, but one of the other marketing claims is that they tested and found that, because these products also have boron nitride or ceramic in them as well, and that they found, or they claim, that the tungsten spheres and the ceramic additive work synergistically together to provide an even better result than either of those products or additives individually, which again speaks to the fact that there has been a lot of testing and R&D to verify that this is the case, because they would have tested, I guess they've settled on a ratio of these micron tungsten spheres and seen an awesome result, and they've tested the base that they've settled on with ceramic, boron nitride additive, and achieved a result, and then they've put the two together at an optimal ratio that they've arrived at, and seen that that is better than either of them individually. So all of the marketing claims, and to come out with a product like this, speaks to the fact that there should be, again, just a shipload of R&D and testing data behind this. And that testing data should be available to shoot down the ZFC test result and prove my testing incorrect. So I would obviously love to see that, because then I could share the other side of the story. And from there, obviously go back, and we need to do a whole bunch more testing. I need to get more of the Halo product from commercial source, which we're working on. Do retests, and just try to really understand how I've got this result, and what, see what future results we get on retests versus what they can see from their testing, which should be extensive, and they should be providing it. But this leads into the where to as well. Obviously testing further Halo product when I get hold of that, so we can see if there's just something really, really wrong with the bottle that I have at the moment and the first bag of wax. It can be so batching issues are a thing, and they're a thing for potentially more manufacturers that you may be aware of, especially when a product is new. And already in speaking to others out there, so somebody else in America has in their Halo bag of immersive wax, there was a golf ball size blob of white something. Could be, is that the tungsten balls? Is that the ceramic? Is it part of the wax base? We don't know. In my bag, it was all, as you saw in the picture, it was basically all looked like that. It looked like a smashed up sandcastle. I didn't have a big glob of white. So there's already, I guess, quite a difference from one bag to another that's out there visually. Somebody was telling me about, I guess, in regards to sort of production issues that they've had in their own product lineup. Won't mention the manufacturer. This is in regards to sealant, but it can be that there's particles in the sealant to help it sealing, that they discovered relatively early on that the particles would start to clog the nozzle that was filling up the bottles, and so the first bottle through the nozzle would get X amount, and then the second bottle would get less because the nozzle's starting to clog. The third bottle would get less again, the fourth bottle less again, the fifth bottle basically nothing, and then the pressure blows out on bottle number 6, and that's getting about 5 times the amount of particle, and it's just a whole different experience for the user, whether they've got bottle number 6 or if they've got bottle number 5. And then the issues around that get resolved, and you have the consistent batching. When you go to, I guess, volume production on, say, products like this, it is not out of the realms that issues can come up when you initially start to go to this scale production, and that's fine. At the end of the day, though, what is in there, we just really don't want to be abrasive, and that's still obviously the huge concern, and has been the huge concern ever since I saw the marketing claims. But it could be that, if I'm correct, and if these, if this additive is abrasive, it's possible that my particular bag is a pretty hot bag of that stuff, and others may be less so. So there is others that have, another place that's been doing some testing on the product, and they, so this is from a competitor, and there are more than one competitor that are having a play with this product, that is for sure. One competitor reporting back so far that it has been really not great. So take obviously that with a pinch of salt, and Finish Line might get upset that I'm sort of reporting it because it's from a competitor. So of course they're going to say it's not great, but that's the report that we have, that it was not great, but certainly nowhere near as bad as what I have in my testing here. So that leads to the potential concern that there may be a batching issue, which, again, is just not that uncommon for some products, especially when they start out. So I'm going to be sending this off to, I have been referred to a good science and engineering center in the US, so I'm going to be sending off the bottle of Halo drip wax that I have, and the Halo wax immersive that I have, as well as those test chains for them to have a closer look at things, and we'll see what comes back out of that. And I will obviously update as soon as I can get that. And yeah, obviously I'd love to be able to update if I can get some dialogue on all this going again with Finish Line, and get some information from their side as to what their thoughts are, and from their perspective, where do we go from here on trying to get to the bottom of it. And at the end of the day, I would love to be able to test and show that it's a great product, and to be able to just get on the blower to the Finish Line importer and start stocking Finish Line immersive wax. Obviously, I want immersive wax for any company trying to do a genuinely great job on that front with bringing a great product to market to succeed. I don't want an immersive wax to be a poor performer and give immersive waxing a bad name. This is like a worst case outcome at the moment for everybody. And so again, if you are using this product, please keep an eye on the chainware, and please report back to me how that's going. Because the more information I can get on this product from any and all sources will hopefully enable me to get to the bottom of whether or not something is just really weird with what I have here, and that things are actually, fingers crossed, going to be in a great place when we get through all of this in the future. But, obviously, I have concerns, and I just also really need Finish Line to help allay a lot of those concerns, and that includes them being able to explain to me and show me some test data. Even if it's confidential, I can say to you that I saw their test data and it was something, just to get my head around what's going on with these micron-sized tungsten hollow spheres, and their rolling effect and their exfoliation and all that stuff. Because right now we are in a spot, and I am still lost for words that in 1,000 kilometers of testing on a ergo indoors, that we could wear a chain to double its recommended wear allowance. It is so far off the scale. I don't even really, I am lost for words, and I need, Finish Line to help me find some words so that we can get to a place that's better than where we are at the moment. Anyway, there we go. Did I say this started to be quick? And again, it wasn't quick. Let me wrap it up. Thanks everybody if you took the time to watch. Let me know, again, a lot of great thoughts and comments last week's vid as well, so thank you for that. I'm excited. MotoGP is back, and I have the CX State titles on Sunday, which also happens to be my 300th bike race, so I'm excited. It's taken quite a long time to get to 300, so I am, pumped for that, even though I won't be very fast, but I will get my Hubbard butt around the course as best I can, and just have a good time getting race 300 in the books. And I'll see how we go. All right, have a great weekend, everybody, and I will catch you next week. And look forward to chatting to you during the week if I can.